Welcome to EC on behalf of my wife, the team, the dream team. We are stoked you're here today. Not because you get to hear me, because you get to hear the Lord speak to you. That's good. It's the fourth week. We're excited. Pastor Jonathan, Pastor Natasha, our lead pastors, are in Vancouver and Coquitlam right now. Pastor, probably right at this moment, is on a stage as well, speaking at Resonate Church, a church plant that launched, I think, around February of this year. They're just crushing it. Great friends of ours, Shane and Rachel, doing a great job over there. And we love that we are able to send our pastors away and be able to share what's happening here at Experience Church, because it's rare what's happening here at Experience Church with other churches around our nation. It's incredible things. It's a great Sunday. It's a great Sunday. At the first service, someone asked me in the first couple of minutes if I could say lit more times than Kyle said it if you were here last week. And so they said if I could say it 5 times in, I don't know, like a couple of minutes. So I did. And then someone just asked me if he said it again. Well, he said he'd give me $20. Still waiting. He said if I said it again, I wonder if I get another $20. But no, I'll keep him off the hook. It was all fun and games. The Summer Mixtape series. What is the Summer Mixtape series? It's really just like it is like we just wanted to give you some hot tracks for over the summer, and we had the very first. Our pastor Natasha, she came and gave a word at the beginning of July, which was amazing. We had a good friend of ours, Andy Moore, pastor from Victoria, gave a great word. And then last week we had something cool. We had 2 speakers, 2 preachers preaching at the same time in 2 different locations. And if you didn't know, you were here last week and you heard from Kyle. Come on, give it up for Kyle Payne. Ho ho, yeah. He was dropping. It was lit, right, Kyle? It was lit. What was the other thing you said? It was a good time to be alive, or something like that, or great time to be alive. Oh, sorry, not good. Summer. So we heard from that, and then we also heard from Pastor Jason in the north. He was live communicating up there for the north crew, and it was amazing. So there's a couple things I would like you to do. You south crew, you need to go to the EC app, or you need to go to experiencechurch.ca, and you need to listen to Pastor Jason's message from last week. If you weren't here, listen to them both, double dip. If, you just got to do it, because he brought some fire too. Today, I got to follow up off of that, and really just hearing from those 2 guys last week, the Pain Train and Clamor Time. It was good for my soul, but it was something that made me realize that there was a message that needs to be said. And the message just kind of comes out of those 2 guys speaking. Now, you got to see, a couple years ago, 3-4 years ago, they showed up, each of them individually on their own time at EC, got plugged in, started serving on the dream team, started leading in the areas of opportunity that were given to them. And then you fast track now, and they're on staff, and they're influencing and leading people underneath them. This is full circle. This is full circle. And that's what I love about what happens here at Experience Church. Why we talk about you joining Next Steps is not because we just want you to go to do something after service in a classroom down the hallway. Why we want you to do that is that we believe that there's something that you can do that can make a difference in the lives of many in Calgary. And so that's what's happening, and I'm so stoked to be able to be a part of seeing what's happened in these guys' lives, having coffee with them at individual times before and seeing the call in their life, to now being able to share a platform with them as they drop lit messages. And I promise I won't say that anymore, because I just feel weird. But that's what it's all about. And so today what I want to talk about is kind of springboarding off of that, is what does it look like to have a generational mind, to be generationally minded as a church, as an individual, to think and have a vision beyond your lifetime. Beyond your lifetime. There is a verse that I think just kind of sums all of this up, and it's kind of a good one just to start us off with today, and it's Psalms 145, verse 4. It's going to be on the screen. If you do not have a Bible, know that we hook you up with free Bibles. We'll even write your name in it. But just tell us what your name is, because that would be really hard. Or you could just stump the guest center and be like, is my name in it? So anyways, there's free Bibles at Guest Center. If you don't want to do the old school way, like my wife has this thing about new books that it's true. Every time I get a new book, she wants to smell it. It's kind of weird. I'm still trying to patent the cologne because that'd be a good day. Be like, hey, smell like new book. I don't know. She likes to smell it. For real. It's a new thing. So if you're into that kind of thing, you can go smell the new Bible at Guest Center. Or you can download the YouVersion Bible app. It's a free one for you. We want you to follow on the screen today. Psalms 145 says, one generation shall praise your works, God's works, to another. Lean over to the person beside you, say, to another. Lean over to the person beside you, say, to your mother. I don't know why I said that, but it sounds good. And shall declare your mighty works. This is what it's about, is that one generation is going to declare and praise the name of God to the next generation. This is what we're talking about today, and this is what we're jumping into. Every one of us kind of has a start date, a story of how we showed up at EC. And if this is your first Sunday today, know that you are in good company because everyone else had a first Sunday at some day. My first Sunday happened to be almost 5 years ago on launch Sunday. Now, right out of the blue, a friend of mine from work gave me a text the night before the church launched on September 23rd, 2012. So on September 24th this year is a Sunday. We're going all out because it's our 5th birthday. Mark it on your calendars. You need to be there. It's going to be so hype. We want you to come. But almost 5 years ago, I showed up on launch Sunday. The night before, we get a text. A friend of ours says, hey, you got to check out this church. It's launching right around the corner from your house, kind of down the street. You got to check it out. So I said to my wife, kid you not, said, if it's got a nice website, we'll go. That was my great decision-making for coming to church. You guys have probably done better. I don't know if it's the website, bonus. But that's how it worked for me. We checked out the website, and my wife's like, we got to go check this thing out. I'm like, all right, whatever. So we showed up. I still remember the moment that we showed up for the first time, walking into the foyer, seeing the flag, seeing smelling coffee. I could tell you who greeted me at the front door. We walked down the hallway. Now, it's super weird, just a little mind trip. We walked down the hallway because this whole sanctuary was flipped. We were really smart and decided to not use the main entrance right there and to decide to use the entrance by the bathroom. Perfect. And so when you came in, you were facing this way. There was a lot less chairs. We were sitting down for the 5-minute countdown. I went through that service that day, and there was something that sat in me. And something that sat in me was that this is the church I want to raise my children in. That's what went through my mind. It was like, this is the church. I want to raise my children in this. This is what I want to be my children's baseline. This is what I want to be their floor. This is what I want. I want this church to be that. And why I say that and why that was so important was because my wife was pregnant 9 months. And we came on Sunday. That Friday, our first child, our son, Ethan, was born. And 5 days after the church launch, Ethan was born. And so if you're ever looking to know how old the church is, just look at my son. Be like, oh, okay, we're still a toddler. So that's just the way it is. We're still trying to figure things out. And but that's my son, and I just remember being like, this is where I want to be. This is where I want to raise my family in, and this is why I'm chatting with you about what it looks like to be generationally minded, is to have a vision beyond yourself. Now, generations are a funny thing, and we talk about it a lot. More than any other time in history have we compartmentalized everything and really segmented all the generations. So I'm going to give you my real scientific approach to generations. My real nailed down approach to what generation you follow into. And it's just right around this idea of vehicle safety standards. Vehicle safety standards for every generation. I'm going to tell you this right now because it's so different. We got the first generation, the most up and coming generation right now is called Generation Z. Generation Z, that would be roughly anyone who's born past 2000. We'll say the 0 to 17-year-olds. That's Generation Z. Do we have at least one in the house? We got one. Just give a shout out. Come on, you're Generation Z. Come on. Ah, that's good. Z. I feel like Z is better. Just Z, me, Z. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm just going to say that. Judge me later. Generation Z, this is, in vehicle safety standards, this is how you would sum them up. They're the first generation that is going to be imprisoned by a car seat till they're 26. I'm serious. it's insane. It's like 127 pounds. They're sitting in a car seat still. It's like I have to have a 6-year-old linebacker to get him out of a car seat. It's like there's words for car seats that they use for sports cars. Like convertible? Like what are you talking about? I don't even know what it is. Like just can we just duct tape them to the seat? But it's like car seats are insane. There's like, they're going to be sitting in college getting a degree and you'd be like, Daddy, can I get rid of my booster seat now? This is the same thing. That's the Generation Z. This is the Generation Z. Then you add all the devices on it. We won't even get into that. But the next generation is the millennials. And that would be anyone from 18 to 33. Come on, give a shout if you're a millennial. Classic millennials. No, I'm just kidding. We won't rag on the millennials, but the millennials, you were the first car seat generation. Now I know some of you that are 33, they're like, no, I didn't have a car seat, I had seatbelts. Well, just hold with me. You're the first kind of holistic generation that had a car seat. Now, your car seats were a lot different than the car seats now. The car seats then were like milk crates with like a little cushion on the top. It's like you guys are going to have back problems for the rest of your life because there was no ergonomic support for car seats then. It was like we got to do something that's different than the seat. Let's just add another seat on top of it. Just go to the auto wreckers, put another seat on there. That's a car seat. That was like your generation. But you know what? This is the difference between your generation. On trips, you guys didn't have iPads. You had portable DVD players. It's true. You remember? How many people remember portable DVD players? Come on, it was like that was the iPad before the iPad. It was like 14 pounds and 2 laptops heavy. It could do everything your laptop could do and less, and but weighed more and cost the same. It was perfect. It was awesome. And he's like, everyone, I need a portable DVD player. And it's like, no. And it's like, you're strapping the thing onto the back of your seat, and you're doing everything. It's like, what? That was your generation. Then you got the next generation, my generation, the Gen Xers. The Gen Xers, that's the 34 to 52-year-olds. Are you a Gen Xer in here? Come on. Ho! Ho! Whoa, we got some Gen Xers in the house. The Gen Xers, this is a little bit different. We weren't car seats unless you were like, all that. And, then maybe you had like the really paranoid parent. But I didn't get a car seat. I had a seatbelt that we had to wear in the city, but suddenly wasn't mandatory on road trips. Come on, you guys ever do this? It's like my parents would be like, we'd go into like, what's a good like 80s store, like Kmart. I don't know, Kmart. We'd go to Kmart, and I don't know what we were getting at Kmart. I'm just making up stuff now. We'd go to Kmart and be like, you better buckle up. You better buckle up, or you're gonna die. And then it's like, oh, we're going on a road trip in Saskatchewan in the middle of winter. Oh, you guys can go lay in the back. We took the seat out for you. Perfect, Dad. Great, so that when we slam on the brakes at 130, I will die. Like, this is great. I just always knew there was something wrong. Like, I remember not wearing a seatbelt in the back of a station wagon where you could sit backwards, and they always thinking that I could just, Chuck Norris right out the back window. I never did, but I always thought that would be kind of cool. This is a true story. I just thought of this right when I was talking. My sister-in-law, they were just riding in the back seat, and my mother-in-law, she's not here. She usually comes. She's not here today, so that's why I'm telling this story. Perfect. So they were driving a corner in a little small town, Saskatchewan, and they were just driving around a corner, not going too fast, and the door of the back seat opened, and my sister-in-law wasn't in a car. It wasn't in a seatbelt, and just rolled right out. She's alive. Just rolled right out. Like, who does that? Like, you do that, you're going to jail. Like, you're going to jail. That's my generation. My generation was, like, optional when it was closer to death. Perfect is such a great example. And then we got the baby boomers. Baby boomers are the 53 to 72-year-olds. How many baby boomers in the house? Whew, we got someone that made some noise. That's good. Phew, that could have went bad. You were the generation that just rode in the back of trucks. He just skipped seatbelts at all. It was like, I'm not even going to the seat. I'm just going to go into the back. Like where we put material, I'm just going to sit there back there. I remember doing that a couple times on grid roads, but no, that's not the way it was for your generation. You used to do that. And then your parents started to enforce the whole seatbelt thing. So there used to be this thing, and I know this because my parents did this to me because they were baby boomers, is this is the seatbelt, is like the parents are stopping and the mom's trying to grab you while you're slamming on the brakes. Like, really, mom? What are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do? And, then we got the last generation, the traditionalists. They're the 73-year-olds to the 94-year-olds. I won't give a shout, but there is some that were already in the room today. But they had it different, They're the ones that were just driving like a 53 Chevy when they were 3 years old, stick shift. It's just the way it was. It's like, forget the seats. I'm taking control, Daddy. It's like, move out of the way. Get me some phone books because I'm driving this beast. That's the generation that we have. And the reason why I say that, as funny as all that is, generations are funny. But I want to be clear with you today as we talk about what it looks like to have a generational mind, is that it simply means that Jesus has a plan for all generations. Jesus has a plan for all generations. So as much as we may be categorized different, know that we are the same and in this together today. Is that God has a plan for every one of us, no matter your age, what you come in here today. If you may think you're gray-haired, or if you may think that you want gray hair, I can give you a little bit of some on the side right now. It doesn't matter what your age is. God has a plan for you to build up that next generation. The next generation. It's important that you need to know that there is no season that you've tapped out and wanting to build the next generation. You're not too young to start looking at the next generation, because the youngest person in this room, there is still a younger generation that are across the walls in EC Kids. So there is a generation always that's coming up to follow. And so today what I want to jump into a story from the life of Joshua at the very end of his life. And we're going to flip over to Judges. It's on the left side of your Bible. It's in the Old Testament, Judges chapter 2. Judges chapter 2. It's going to be on the screen. And this is going to give really just the last little bit, the last little story we hear of a boss leader named Joshua. Before we jump into it, Joshua was the assistant to this guy named Moses before that. Moses led the people of Israel out of Egypt into the wilderness, and Joshua ended up taking over after Moses. And Joshua was incredible. He entered the promised land, the promise that was given years ago. He entered that. He took the people of Israel through some incredible miracles that God led them with, like crossing the Jordan River, like seeing the walls of Jericho come down, like having the sun stand still for them. He asked the Lord for the sun to stand still. Like, some of you, it's summertime, that's what you want to do. You want that Joshua anointing? You got your suntan on, and you're like, Lord, just let it stand still. Just let it stand still, stand still. That's what Joshua did. He was an incredible leader, lived for 110 years, and we pick it up in verse 6 of chapter 2, and it says this: "And when Joshua had dismissed the people, the children of Israel went each to their own inheritance to possess the land. So the people served the Lord all of the days of Joshua, and all of the days of the elders who outlived Joshua, who had seen all of the great works the Lord which he had done for Israel. Now Joshua, the son of Nun," just gotta sit there for a second. Son of Nun, one, son, Nun. Just weird to me. Son of Nun. Like, if your name's Nun, that's just weird. "The servant of the Lord died when he was 110 years old. And they buried him in the border of his inheritance in Timnath-Heres, in the mountains of Ephraim on the north side of Mount Gash." Now, if that's Google directions to your place, I'm not coming, because I don't even know what I just said. "After that generation," this is the key verse, just follow with me. "After that generation died, another generation grew up who did not know the Lord, or remember the mighty works he had done for Israel," for all of them. For all of them. There's something incredible to be said about this, is that we look at this story and it's kind of like, wow, that kind of sucks for Joshua. He lived such an incredible, faithful life, and the generation that came after him did not follow the Lord. And so what I want to do is I want to give you some tips on today on what it looks like for you to be generationally minded. First, before we do that, I think it's important that you need to know why we should be generationally minded. And the first thing why we should be generationally minded is that you need a vision for your future. You need a vision for your future. If you have, the biggest vision you have is today for your future, let me tell you right now, you need to expand it. Now I'm going to give you a little more challenge. You need a vision that outlives your life. A vision that is beyond the days of your life. You need something that goes way beyond you. Now, we talk to like parents and we talk to grandparents and they're talking this way. But I'm going to challenge all of us that there's a generation waiting for you to have a vision beyond yourself. Because when you live generationally minded, you are not the most important anymore. It's who's going to come after you that is more important. It's the Kyles. It's the Jason Clammers. It's the people that are yet to see that come onto the stage. Because guess what? There is more room, baby. That we believe that you has not done what God wants to do. There is more. So we need to be generationally minded. You know, in driver's ed, they always say that you should steer where you look. Steer where you look. You know, if you're driving, you know, you're looking ahead. But if you start, you know, you're checking out, you know, for the single people, somebody. Or if you're looking at like one of those rides that's going by, or you're just doing me and just not paying attention to driving at all. It's like the rumble strips on the, it's like, you know, what happens is that you'll steer where you look. And so if you don't have a vision for the future, you're going to end up somewhere where you didn't mean to be. That's just as simple as it is. So you need to have a vision for the future. So if you are wondering, I don't have a vision, I'm not really sure where I want to go, I challenge you today that God wants to give you a vision for your future. You know, it's important to understand that your eyes determine your path, so the same way that your vision determines your path. You need to let God determine your path. You know, my daughter, she's 3 years old, and she's a talker. Love her. She talks all the time. She'll talk to my oldest son, and she'll literally talk for 20 minutes, and then he'll just say, Alexa, can you please be quiet? It's like happened. And she's like, okay. And she just keeps going. But she's been saying this thing, and we haven't corrected her because we're great parents and we love how cute it sounds, so we just don't, we're delaying the speech delay. We're even delaying it more. No, I hope not. But she says, instead of yesterday, she says lasterday. So she's like, but she doesn't even know the concept of lasterday or yesterday. She thinks that it's not just yesterday. It could be from anything from 6 months to a year ago. So she's like, the other day, I think it was yesterday, she's like, Daddy, lasterday I fell down the stairs. It did happen. My daughter fell down the stairs. I wasn't at home parenting that day. Just saying. Shots fired. But she did fall down the stairs, you know. But it was like 6 months ago. And she's like, lasterday I found down the stairs. Lasterday, it's like everything's lasterday I went to the park. No, you didn't go to the park yesterday. I was too lazy yesterday. Like, come on, what are you talking about? But there's something about that word yesterday or lasterday is that sometimes if you don't have your vision on the future, you're always going to be looking in the past. You're going to be looking back and you're going to be kind of getting in an accident. And so that's why we challenge you is that your past is your lasterday. It is behind you, and we believe at EC that your best days are ahead of you, not behind you. That's what you need to know today. And a few other reasons why you need to be why you need to have a generational mindset is simply because God was a generational God. You know, it says Father, Son, and there's something about the Trinity having that lingo of the different generations in it. And so we need to know if we're going to serve a God like that, that's the beauty of it, is that he even used the name Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The God that he says, use this name eternally for me. It means that I'm a God of generations. The third thing is that if you want to have a generational mind, you believe, why you want to believe in this is because God's promises didn't end with one exclusive generation. You need to know that. Like, Jesus didn't die just for a certain generation in a certain time 2,000 years ago. It always says, and every time there was a promise given in the Bible to someone, it always added to all generations, to generations to come. And so that's just like a little bit of a snippet of why, but I'm going to give you some tips on how you can do this. And first, what I would like to talk to you about is how do we help the up-and-coming generation? Now, every one of us in this room, there's an up-and-coming generation for you. For some of you, that could be me. For some of you, that could be someone younger. For some of you, that's even a little bit older. That could be someone that's even older than me. There's always an up-and-coming generation. It could be anyone inside that gamut of people. But we always need to be preparing for the up-and-coming generation. So I'm going to give you two things that you need to do to prepare yourself to help the next generation. One, you need to not hoard, and not lord over them. Let me just tell you a bit about that. Hoarding is like, it is present-minded focus. That's all it means. It means that you're taking everything that you've been given right now, everything that you know right now, everything that's been experienced by you right now, and you're keeping it to yourself. That's what hoarding is. A bad leader would hoard everything that's happening. You may be at a job where someone's hoarding the information. It's like, I'm the gatekeeper. You know? And there's a reason why Jesus says in the Bible, blessed are the peacemakers, not the peacekeepers. Come on, because we want to be gate makers. We don't want to be gate makers. We want to open it up. We want to say, God, like, let's open the doors for people. Let's just say right now that, like, come, there is more that you can do in your life. So you don't want to hoard. When a church has a generational mindset, the previous generation is generous and encouraging the next generation. You know, the antidote for hoarding is generosity. The antidote for hoarding the stuff that God's been giving you or the experiences that God's sharing with you is generosity. So I challenge you to be generous with the people that are coming up with you. I challenge you to be generous with other people in this church, with other people that are at your work. Just do it. Just, you know what? Sometimes people are going to take advantage of it. Don't worry. Be generous with what's going, because there's a bigger reward than hoarding everything that you have. The other thing is lording. We don't want to lord over the next generation. I can say this because I'm a pastor here. There's something about, like, you can use your authority and your title to lord over people, to make people feel insecure in the roles that they are. That is not this church. That is not the way that we want to position ourselves in this community. And it's not the way that we want to position any new leader in this church. We don't want to lord over anyone. And there's a verse in 1 Peter that says, I think it's going to come on the screen right here, care for the flock that God has entrusted to you. Watch over it willingly, not grudgingly, for not for what you will get out of it, but because you are eager to serve God. Don't lord over the people assigned to your care, but lead them by your own good example. You know, the reality of the antidote to lording is serving. This is why we ask you to be a part of the dream team. And I'm not doing a big pitch so that you can be a part of the dream team and we can get another warm body greeting people. That's not why it is. What I'm doing is that you can come on and start serving people. And when you serve people, you start to realize the potential in people. You see the potential that God has given them. And so you start to serve them. And so I challenge you that as if you don't want to lord over somebody, you need to learn how to serve them. Leadership is generational, but leading with only you in mind is not leading. It is always lording. You know, there's so many things. I just want to talk a little bit to the older generation today, because sometimes there's like that older generation, you start thinking about this and you're like, yeah, I know. I get what you're saying. And but my time's I kind of feel like I'm done speaking into the younger generation. I'm going to let someone like you, Quincy, do it. I'm going to let someone else do it. Well, I'm going to challenge you to not depart, but rather to impart. And in the season of your life where you feel like society tells you to dial back, to retire, to choose to take more self-focus. Now, don't take me wrong. Do all that. Go play golf. I don't really care. But choose to impart, not depart from the next generation. Choose to do that. It even is biblical. It says in Psalms 92, planted in the house of the Lord, they will flourish in the courts of our God. They will bear fruit in old age. They will stay fresh and green. Come on, all the old people in the place say, I want to be fresh and green. I don't even know what that means, but I want to be fresh and green. That's what I want to be when I'm older. When I'm older. So now we got a little bit of how do you help the next generation come up, but what happened if you are that next generation? What happened if you feel like you're that? And some of us in this place, we are that. So what does it look like to be the next generation? I'm going to give you a couple things that I think you need to do as being the next generation. The next generation, the upcoming generation, the generation that's going to take over some of the reins. They need to heed and to lead from the previous generation. They need to heed and to lead. You need to heed and to lead. Heeding is giving careful attention to what God has already done before you. That's what heeding is. Heeding is taking a step and looking and actually giving careful attention, saying, Lord, how do I fit into this? How do I see myself coming alongside what's happening? You know, this is what's incredible. In 2 Timothy, it says this, guard the good deposit that was entrusted to you. Guard it with the help of the Holy Spirit who lives in you. You know, the key to heeding is honoring. If you're a generation like myself who's had to come up and there's been someone who's been before you, for myself, I will always honor our pastors, Jonathan and Natasha, because they were the ones that God deposited the dream of Experience Church into. They're my leaders. We may be close in age, but they are my leaders, and I will honor them. I will honor them. If you're coming into this church and you want to step into something, we ask you to heed where God is going. Say, you know what? I'm going to honor what has been done in the past, but guess what? I'm going to serve the future. I'm going to believe for something next. Heed what is going before you. And you know, when we talk about heeding, basically, I just say this. Everybody needs, this is really biblical, a Yoda in their life. Everybody needs a Yoda. You need that. You know, I don't really know anything else to say other than, you know, just if I could lift something up right now, that would be really cool. You need a Yoda in your life. You need a mentor in your life if you're a young person, if you're an upcoming generation. You need a mentor in your life. You know where you find those? We already have it set up for you. It's called EC Groups. It's done. It's just right there. It's a place for you to connect with somebody in multi-generations and be able to learn from people side by side and walk through things. That's what it's about. I encourage you, if you're not in a small group, we're coming to the end of the semester, get ready to get plugged into one in the fall, because that's where you can learn to be mentored. You know, the other thing is leading, heeding and leading. What does it look like to lead? Leading is growing from the strength of the previous generation. That's really what it's about, is that my son, I want him to stand on the shoulders of me. I want him to not have to relive all the mistakes and relearn everything that I had to do up until this point. I want him to fast track his life, because I believe the next generation will go further and faster than the previous. That's what I believe, and that's what our belief is for you, is that if you're here, we believe that you can go further and faster with God. We don't believe it's just limited to the way that things have to be, but we want to grow from strength to strength to strength. I have a dream of EC being stronger in 20 years than it is now. I have a dream that the Church of Calgary is influencing the whole city, the nation of Canada in years from now. I don't want it to be just what it is today. Thank you for coming, but guess what? I want it bigger. I want it greater, because guess what? There is more people that need to know about Jesus. About Jesus. You know, in 2 Timothy 2, Paul says this, "And the things you have heard me say in the presence of many witnesses, entrust to reliable people who will also be qualified to teach." I'll tell you this, young generation, I'll tell you this right now, even in my generation, and it might even be in others too, we've seen it come back, is entrusting is not entitlement. Entrusting is not entitlement. There's a difference of when we entrusted Kyle and Clamor to be on the stage, Pastor Jason. That's entrusting them with the platform that they have been given. But it's not entitlement. Never once did they say, "Hey, it's my turn. Drop the mic. Get me up there. I want to speak." No, that isn't it. Because you know what? They came alongside the mission and the vision and said, "I want to lead and serve what has gone before me." That's what it's about, and that's what it looks like. The key to leading is always to learning, and guess what? We have a great opportunity to fast-track some learning and some leadership principles for you, and it is launching. This is public knowledge today. Only the team knew of it before, and it's called EC Interns. EC Interns is launching in September, and what we're doing is it's a 12-week intensive discipleship and mentorship program where you're going to get practical training here. You're going to learn. Some of you feel like, you know what? What does it look like for me to be a part of a church? What does it look like for me to even work there? Guess what? You're going to get access to the staff and to other things that you haven't been able to, because why we want to do this is because it only makes sense to multiply our efforts into the next generation. I don't want to wake up in 20 years and it's only me and there's nothing else for my kids. I want to be ready and prepared for what God's doing next. And so if you feel like you're interested in that, you can check out the website, ecinterns.com. You can ask me or one of the staff members after service. That's my plug for that. That's my plug for that, is that your vision must outlive your life. Please, don't be so stuck into what you're going to become in 10 years from now. 20 years from now. Think beyond. Think like Jesus and like God did, multi-generations. Down the road, what would it look like when my grandkids are at this church? What's it going to look like when your grandkids are here? Or what's it going to look like your grandkids are going to be here? We don't know, but we know that we can believe for it. And we know that we can live in a way that there's a legacy beyond our lifespan. And so how do you do this? You know, jumping back to this verse in Joshua, jumping all the way back, is we hear that there was a generation that came up after them that died, and that the generation that died, and they came up after them, they didn't know the Lord, and they didn't even know all the mighty works. It's crazy. I'll tell you why it's crazy. Is because they were in the promised land. They were in the promised land for years and years, 40 years. They were trying to get in there. The whole generation before was trying to get in there. They're in the promised land. They're in the land. They're in the miracle. This is what it means, is that it is possible that you can be surrounded by miracles but still not know God. Let me just tell that again to you. It is possible you can be in this room where your friends are experiencing Jesus and you can tell something's happening with their life. You're like, I don't know what's going on. You're doing a lot less partying and you're getting up way earlier on Sundays. I don't know what's going on, but you're posting about this church every other day. I don't know what's going on, but you're talking about Jesus a lot. And you can be in those moments surrounded by the miracle, the person whose life's being changed on the left and right, but still not know God. You can be in that moment. This whole generation was living in a land that God gave them. God gave them. And they didn't even know. They forgot about the miracle that God did for them. They forgot about what the miracle God did for them. I think about this and I think that there's something to be said. There's two things. One, we're going to give you an opportunity in a second to know God. You need to, for some of you, you're going to start your relationship with Jesus today. You've been seeing miracles for far too long, and you want to be a part of the miracle. And this is your day. You need to know that. For the rest of us, some of you, you're wondering, how can I help? What can I do next, Lord? And I think this is what you need to do, is that we can't forget what God has done. We can't forget you have a story to share. You have a voice that needs to be heard. And for some of you, my own son, there's a moment where I need to tell him the story of how we showed up at EC, why God brought us here, why I came on staff, why I'm committed to the cause. I need to tell him that story. He's 5 years old, but he's not going to wake up when he's 20 not knowing the story, because I don't want him to forget why he came here. I don't want to forget why we made a decision that this is where we're going to commit to. I don't want him to forget that Jesus is most important in our life. I don't want him to forget about the things that are happening and that God's taking us through. I don't want him to forget. And so for some of you in this room, you need to share your story. There's a story that's on your life that I can't share, that God needs to share. You need to share it with the people that are close to you. Some of you need to share it with your family. God's been doing some stuff in your life, and you need to share that. You need to stop holding it back, and you need to share it. Someone needs to hear what God's been doing in your life. And so if you wouldn't mind bowing your heads and closing your eyes with me, I want to give an opportunity for the people here that are yet to know God, that are yet to make a decision for God. There's a generation that didn't know God. Joshua did everything he could to prepare them. I'm doing everything I can to help you be prepared. But this is going to come down to ultimately your decision. Do you want to know God, or do you just want to be in a room full of miracles and not be the miracle? God's asking you today, is this your day? Is this your day that you want to know me? Is this your day that you want to step into knowing something more than just a story, but it wants to be part of your story? You know, Jesus is calling to each and every one of you. So what we're going to do today is we're just going to count to 3. And if you feel like you just want Jesus to start a new story in you, you want to put your faith and trust in him, I'm just going to ask you to raise your hand. We're not going to do anything weird. No one's looking around. This is a private moment between you and God. And what we want to do is we want to give you an opportunity where you can make your story known to God and say, I need you. And so I'm going to count to 3. We just encourage you to raise your hands. 1, God's not done. God wants to do something in a generation beyond you. 2, know that your decision today is impacting future generations. Come on. 3, if that's you, why don't you just raise your hand? Thank you. I know that there's some I can see. You can put your hand down as soon as you raise it. Thank you. What we're going to do here, EC, we're a family. We do this together. And so we're going to take a couple minutes and we're going to pray this. I encourage you to pray this out loud with me. We're just going to ask that God gets to know you and you're just going to know him. And we're going to do this together. Let's do it together right now. Jesus, I want to know you. I don't want to do life alone, but I want a vision for my future. Come into my life and make things new. Help me to live beyond my life. In Jesus' name, amen. Why don't you guys give it up for everyone who made that decision?